Hey guys, Lolio here. So the first day of Blizzcon 2014 is over, and it was certainly very eventful. At the opening ceremony, Mike Morhaime said that it was probably the biggest Blizzcon yet, and that seemed to be pretty true. So let's talk about some of the announcements. The one that absolutely stole the show was the reveal of Blizzard's new game and IP, Overwatch. They started off the reveal by showing this amazing cinematic. Blizzard's cinematic team never fails to deliver, and the quality here was great. The art style is very reminiscent of Pixar movies like Toy Story or Monsters Inc., which is very different for Blizzard, but it does kind of keep with their general cartoony vibe with things like Warcraft, right? And the intro clip was super full of character and atmosphere, and it was a really great introduction to this universe. So Overwatch is a team-based first-person shooter. It's obviously pretty different from what Blizzard has done before, being their first shooter, aside from StarCraft Ghost, which was cancelled way back. But they mentioned a lot of attributes that make it similar to other Blizzard games. So first, they're focusing a lot on the individual characters, the heroes of the game. You could see this in the cinematic, with people like Tracer and Winston really displaying some personality. And secondly, they're attempting to make the game very accessible, noting that modern shooters rely a lot on twitch mechanics, like very quick reaction times. I know that's a problem for a lot of people in things like Call of Duty. By having a support role that focuses more on strategic mechanics rather than quick reactions, they want more people to be able to play it. Blizzard is known for doing great multiplayer PvP experiences. I mean, StarCraft, StarCraft 2, the Warcraft RTS series, WoW Arenas, WoW Battlegrounds, and now Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm. They're pretty experienced in the PvP area. So while a shooter is a new genre for them, multiplayer PvP and competitive PvP in esports is something they've really got down. And so I'm hoping Overwatch will be no different and probably, be a very competitive esports scene once it launches. I mean, obviously they're not talking about that right now, but they did talk about how they want to make it pretty competitive and, focus really, like it's a multiplayer game entirely. There's no single player, so it'll probably be very competitive. And because Jeffrey Kaplan is one of the lead guys on this, I'm not sure of his exact title, I'm not sure if he's like game director or lead designer or anything, but I know he worked on Titan a lot, and before that he was really responsible for a lot of WoW's early success. Like he was on Vanilla, BC, and part of Wrath of the Lich King, and then he moved over to Titan and now he's working on Overwatch. And he was someone who was very responsible for a lot of WoW's early success. And I have faith that because of that, Overwatch is going to be pretty awesome as well. So, in other news, let's talk about Warcraft. Unfortunately, there was no WoW expansion announcement. It shouldn't be that surprising, but the hype was certainly building after the Eye of Azshara trademark was leaked. Instead, we just heard more about Warlords of Draenor, which launches in under a week. They had a panel just talking about WoW and item changes and class changes, but really, it was pretty much all stuff we'd already heard before, and a little bit disappointing there. But it is hard for me to be disappointed by the lack of an expansion announcement when we're on the brink of one already. I mean, Warlords of Draenor is coming out in under a week. I'm super excited for that, and so I can't really be like, oh, we didn't get an expansion, that sucks, because we're getting one in a very short time frame. And the big Warcraft news, really, was regarding the movie. At the panel, the director, Duncan Jones, revealed a lot of the casting decisions, which was nice to see. We'd already heard a lot of these on various news sites, but we actually didn't know who everyone was playing, and there was speculation as to, who a lot of these people were playing, but we actually finally got a confirmation on a lot of things. They brought in a bunch of props, like the Alliance weapons and armor, which is really cool to see. I don't know, I personally feel like Alliance stuff, as opposed to Horde stuff, looks better in real life. Like, when I see like an Alliance, suit of armor with the lion or the sword, or like the Alliance bike from Azeroth Choppers, I think those things look really cool. And whereas the Horde stuff, really, because of its more, fantasy aesthetic, I think it really comes to life in-game. And they brought out some Horde armor as well, and the guy playing Orgrim, which is Rob Kaczynski, he brought out an absolutely huge Doomhammer prop. It was amazing. It looked like it would be really hard to hold. And they talked about how they're really dedicated to making Warcraft a great movie. I mean, they said this before, but it shows even more now, how the special effects are so high quality that that's the reason that post-production is taking so long, and it's going to be, it won't be released for a while. Unfortunately, we did not see a trailer or any footage. but apparently there were some shots you could see if you were actually there at BlizzCon on the show floor. They talked about how you could go upstairs and see some stuff. Unfortunately, they did not show that to virtual ticket holders, which is what I am. It's unfortunate that we're not seeing these things, because they showed some Warcraft footage at Comic-Con in July of 2013, I believe, and then they showed another teaser this year at Comic-Con, and then they showed more stuff at this BlizzCon, but every time people who weren't actually at the convention couldn't see anything. And that's really annoying. Duncan Jones tweeted that he felt it was pretty frustrating to him as well. It's not his call to make, it's the studio's call. And so I kind of, I see where he's coming from, so I'm not like angry with him. A lot of people on the forums were like calling out, Duncan Jones, but it's obviously not his call. Hopefully we'll see a trailer in the near future, maybe not released at BlizzCon, maybe released at some other convention, but hopefully we will see something actually tangible in the near future, because the movie doesn't come out until March of 2016, which is still quite a ways away, but because they're taking, so much care and so much time and effort to make it good, I think it will be really awesome and better for it. A Hearthstone expansion was pretty much expected and was announced. Much of the speculation focused on an engineering or machinery-focused expansion, and so what we got wasn't too strange. It was goblins versus gnomes. So there's going to be 120 new cards, and they revealed about 30 of them. And the coolest thing, really, is that it's going to be released next month, which is way faster than Blizzard normally does things. Although, a Hearthstone expansion is really just, they're adding new cards and, new card packs that you can buy. Like, there isn't really any new PvE content, it's not an adventure mode like Naxxramas, and it's not going to slowly unlock over time. All the cards are going to be out, and I presume you'll be able to buy them and craft them, and that's going to be pretty cool. So I'm glad that's going to be released on a fairly short timetable, because we really shouldn't have to wait, a long time when it is adding a lot of new content, but it's adding it in the form of cards, which the experience you get from that is playing with them. So hopefully it will be released very shortly. They said their goal is next month. I assume it will be launched on time. They also announced Spectator Mode, which will release with the expansion, and it seems like pretty much everything people have been asking for, and that'll definitely help its growth as an esport even more. Hearthstone has been growing so much, especially in the esports sector, and that's amazing. I personally thought it would grow really fast, but not as fast as it's growing, and it actually seems like this Spectator Mode will help it out a lot more. So Heroes of the Storm received some pretty big announcements. First off, they talked about how the technical alpha is progressing, and they gave a release date for closed beta, January 13th, 2015. They mentioned how they've been expanding the alpha recently, inviting over 15 times more players in the last few waves than the ones before. And that's pretty good. I think one of the major things standing in the way of Heroes growing right now is that very few people can play it. You always see comments on videos and on Facebook, they're like, I'm really hyped for this, but my hype is dying down because it's been years since I've been wanting to play this game, and we've been hearing about it since BlizzCon 2010, and why can't we play it? And Dustin Browder talked about this on stage. He was like, we want to bring you guys in. We're working hard to bring you guys in, but we don't want to crash our servers, but we are going to expand it, and we are going to open it up a bit more. I know they're doing the promotion this month where anyone who reaches level 20 before November 20th, I believe, is kind of entered in this random drawing where all their Battle.net or Real ID friends will be invited, and that'll invite, several more thousand players. And, make sure that you are signed up for the beta on Battle.net and on Facebook, and, try and enter in as many ways as possible, and you'll eventually get in. I was lucky to be one of the people who got in really early, but it does suck when none of my friends are in, and everybody who wants to play can't play, but they are opening it up quite a bit more. And Blizzard also announced some important features for the game, the biggest of which is ranked play. Heroes is quickly being embraced by its players as an esport, and ranked and draft are very critical to growing that side of the game. But most exciting for me, though, was that a few new heroes were shown off, like Sylvanas, the Lost Vikings, Jaina, and Thrall, and all of those guys are going to be in the game, or at least Jaina and Thrall will be in the game by the time the closed beta launches. I'm not sure how far off Sylvanas and the Lost Vikings are. They might be a little bit further out, but we know there's tons of other heroes they have planned. Before they talked about Kael'thas. I didn't hear much about him today, but there's another panel tomorrow, and they'll probably talk about some more heroes that they're developing. But these are all pretty iconic characters, and everybody was really excited for Lost Vikings, just because it's something that, not everyone, including myself, has played the Lost Vikings original games, but we've heard about them, right? We've heard about Blizzard's older franchises like Rock and Roll Racing and Lost Vikings, and we're kind of interested in these characters. I know Lost Vikings are technically actually in WoW and Uldaman, There's the dwarf bosses there, they're named after the Lost Vikings, and they kind of have the similar attributes. So I know a little bit about them, but it would be interesting to actually see these guys in-game, and they actually have a pretty unique mechanic for controlling them. And so really, one of the things I like about Heroes is that it is kind of being a lot more unique than I thought it was going to be. Like, they're trying to create a lot of unique heroes like Abathur and the Lost Vikings that control in very different ways, and so that's really exciting to see. In other news, StarCraft 2 players have been feeling pretty neglected for the last few years since Heroes of the Storm, mainly because there's a lot of overlap in the development teams. It's been a while since they got any real announcement, and so it felt like about time for Legacy of the Void to be revealed, and it was. And the cinematic they showed, like all of Blizzard's cinematics, as I mentioned before, was absolutely great. I think the most important part of the announcement, though, for Legacy of the Void, even more so than the story content or the new multiplayer units, is that it's going to act as a standalone expansion. So that means that you won't have to purchase StarCraft 2 or Heart of the Swarm before you buy Legacy of the Void. And this is a big deal because I think there's a lot of people, including myself, who would be very interested in StarCraft, but we haven't really gotten into the series previously, and so it's kind of daunting to have to, buy a couple products to really get into it. Kind of like WoW is sometimes when they have, they used to have multiple expansions you had to buy, and then they merged them all together, and so it's a lot easier. Now to buy WoW, for example, you just have to pay $20 for WoW, and then, you buy Warlord separately, and that works a lot better than having to buy, 4 or 5 different expansions. And I think that StarCraft, by making it so you can just buy Legacy of the Void and jump right in, I think that'll get a lot more people into it. I mean, right now, StarCraft, while it is fairly popular in the RTS genre, it's been lagging a little bit behind Blizzard's other major franchises in terms of player numbers, and I definitely think allowing people to just jump right into the series with Legacy of the Void will help get more players into it, because I would like to try StarCraft, but I'm kind of intimidated. It seems kind of hard to get into, but Legacy of the Void seems pretty interesting. I like the Protoss aesthetic, and so I'm definitely going to try it out. So that about covers the big announcements for the first day of BlizzCon. I'm going to do some more in-depth recaps for all the games, but this should give you a pretty nice overview of what's to come from Blizzard. What do you guys think? I'm personally pretty excited for all the stuff, but especially Overwatch, because I was really hoping they would announce a new IP, and they actually did. It looks really amazing. Anyway, that's all from me for now. If you enjoyed the video or found it informative, please leave a like, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.